All right, Anna, I am so excited to have this conversation because we actually met on vacation,
I was just thinking about that today, actually. What a vacation.
right? I know. And for anybody who doesn't know, which is probably most people, we actually met in Sicily in 2019, right before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And I always think about that vacation so much because that trip was incredible. Plus, it was such great timing because first of all, it was like with my husband and his family and I don't, everyone, his dad and his uncle are getting older, and so they may not have had that opportunity now to actually do it. And then second of all, it was literally right before the pandemic hit. And so then the whole world shut down, right? So for many, many
Yeah.
years. So it was
I
actually a
haven't
full
I
time.
haven't been on a vacation since then. Have you?
Yes, I actually have. Yeah, my husband and I celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary in Paris. Yeah.
That's right. Oh, beautiful times.
Yes. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And I wore this to kind of commemorate our topic today about being on vacation. So, want to, well, first, before we get into that topic, um, will you introduce yourself? Like, how would you like to explain what you do?
Hmm. So I would say that I've been doing a lot of different things, but I'm a serial entrepreneur and I wrote the book Shadow Magic, which is an Amazon bestseller. And it basically is about how to identify our inner shadows that causes self-sabotage and really take the helm of our own success, be really conscious that our ego is running the show and how do we step up in our executive selves to run our businesses, run our lives. And when I look at the threads of my life, because I've done coaching, life coaching, business coaching, energy healing for over a decade. And when I look at the threads, kind of like the commonality intersections of all of the things that I've done, the core has always been helping people truly understand their authentic self. And when I say authentic self, I really mean the personality of your soul, like beyond your ego, that part of us that actually not a lot of us are connected to because society teaches us and socializes us to be kind of like a robot, right? To be someone who conforms, someone who is good, someone who abides by all the whatever norms and stuff. And so after, I don't know, I would say like a few years, a few decades, we kind of lose touch with who we really are.
Mhm.
And so that's why I'm so excited for this work, which has recently been birthed from experiences such as our vacation and this work that I've been doing, helping my clients really connect to their true genius. This is, I think, the most fun iteration of that. So I don't know what title that is, but that explains a little bit what I've been working on.
That's so exciting. I mean, do you feel like you're somebody who has always known who your authentic self is?
I think I'm like when you're younger, things don't make sense to you. And so I distinctly remember many times when things didn't make sense to me, when I felt like people were saying things that they didn't mean. And then I started saying things that I didn't mean. And I was like, oh, but I mean that because that's how I was taught. That's how everyone behaves, right? To be nice and all these things. And then at some point, I realized, oh, wait, this life that I'm living, and I've been an entrepreneur, as you know, for a very long time. So I've created my own life. But even then, I was like, why does my business not sound like me? Why does my voice sound like my mentor's voice or the voices of, other people that I've read and learned from? And of course, that's a part of learning. But there's a point when I didn't really kind of recognize the stuff that I was saying. It was very easy for me to write stuff and to write copy and to market. But I was like, but is this who I really am? Is this really my true voice? And I think for people out there, if they're kind of feeling this way in their life, like whose life is this? Right? It's probably because we're not really living the life that we could live in terms of being more authentic to our soul and our soul's urges and our soul's passions and our soul's interests.
Yeah, it's kind of like the David Byrne song, or Talking Head song, right? This is not my house. This is not my wife.
Yes, yes. My husband loves David Byrne.
Okay, that's amazing. Um, what brought you into this work? Like, what was your initial intention, or how did you even get into this work?
I think everyone has these like kind of secret obsessions. Some people it's like not so secret. And when I say obsessions, I don't mean necessarily just like, like collecting stamps or whatever, like that can be an obsession, but it's like this kind of systematic way of perceiving the world and like, those things that we always think about
Mhm.
even if we're on vacation, right? So I'm always like thinking about like what is true, who is being true, like what feels aligned with this person, what doesn't. It's just like a natural thing, just like I'm assuming if someone is really into fashion, they would just be like, oh, that person, the colors don't look good on them. I just assume that. I have friends who are chiropractors and they confirmed that when they walk around, they notice, like where people are holding, their imbalances and stuff. And
Mhm.
so that was just kind of my natural obsession was like to find out like who is this person really, right? Oh, this is who they think they are, but this is not how I truly experience them. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's just like this kind of inner obsession to like a reductionist kind of like what is true.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I relate to that. I always used to ask people questions about, like, especially older couples. I would ask them like, what's your secret? How did you maintain this relationship for 50 years, right? Like, especially if they're happily married.
Yes.
That was an obsession of mine from a young age because my parents are still together but not happily together.
From a young age, I think that's key. Like you just can't help but ask these questions. You can't help but wonder, oh, I wonder what makes them work so well together. It's just like these things that we're naturally geared towards, and I think that's really part of our genius, part of our soul's personality.
Mm. And so, how did you kind of start to pivot that into this whole vacation thing? I mean, I think that, of course, like sometimes when we're on vacation, we're a little bit different than how we are in our everyday life.
I'm like a totally different person. I don't know about you. Are you like, I feel like you're pretty chill anyway. So maybe not a totally different person.
No, probably a pretty different person when I'm on vacation. Yeah, I would say that uh, there's a there's a much more like I'm much more willing to let others lead when
Mm,
I'm on vacation versus like in my business and personal life. I'm probably more like, oh, I need a little bit more sense of control. But when I'm on
interesting.
vacation, it's all like, please lead me, please tell me where to go and what to eat and all of that good stuff.
Oh yeah, that's why you're on the tour.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my
Exactly.
gosh.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah,
Yes.
because on vacation, I feel like we're really being like a big aspect of our true selves, and our guard is down. And honestly, like our kind of ego, which is meant to protect us, that's also down a little bit. So we can just experience, we can just exist, right? And so what led me to this work was because I kind of feel things in terms of energy. And I think we all do this, right? People have natural intuitive gifts, whether or not you realize it, you do. Your imagination, the random things that you see, that's your intuitive gifts, the things that you feel, right? That the knowing that you have, that's an intuitive gift. And so for me, when I experience someone's genius, I usually just ask them a bunch of questions. And then I kind of get to the point where like, oh, they can understand, they feel it. They feel that moment when they're doing the thing that they love, not because it makes them money, not because they have to prove something, but they're truly in that state where they're just really present. When they feel that, oh, that's like their absolute genius or present with their genius. And then I just started developing these questions. And then I got to the point where I was doing a training for a group, and I just like everyone, we're going on vacation today because our soul has a vibe, right? It has like an energy. It's not just like, hi, my name is Anna and I live in this body, right? And I'm, 2000 years old. It's not that. It really has like a pulse to it, which is why when you like think of someone in your life, you can just get a sense of their essence. You can get a sense of who they are, regardless of kind of what they're looking like on the outside. And so when I did ask the questions that kind of took people on vacation, people just woke up. They're like, oh, this is how I'm meant to live my life. I can live my life like this. this is my natural pace, the pace that I'm on vacation. This is totally opposite of how I live my life, which is actually I find true when I did the genius sessions, which is like everyone has kind of their own values. Mine is what was so different than what I thought it was. My value is actually like living an interesting life, which I didn't think that I thought I was living an abundant life or whatever that was important. No, it was actually in doing interesting things and being around interesting people, right? Like that was really valuable to me. And what I found was I was not living my life that way. I was only following successful people who I was supposed to follow because they were leaders in my industry, but they were so boring, right? And like just as most people were not living in their values. Some people's values were being spontaneous. Well, this person likely is a polar opposite of that, right? And the same with our vacation self. Most people are living completely opposite their vacation selves, their vacation pace, right? I know I was. And I think it's just so interesting to see when they kind of get a glimpse of it again, that they're like, oh, wait, I can live my life like this. I don't actually have to buy a plane ticket or whatever, to live like this. Yes, because that's who you really are naturally.
Well, this is blowing my mind a little bit. So you're saying that it's that we can and we should be living like we're on vacation all the time.
I know. So what comes up for you? Because
Yeah.
that's a normal, like what comes up for you? Like what?
Yeah, it comes up like it's just sort of like confusing because it's like, what? Why would I want to do that? Like there's that part of my brain, the controlling part, right, that wants to say, no, you shouldn't be living like you're on vacation all the time. Like you should be living like you mean business and you're working and doing all of the things that you need to do all of the time. And then go on vacation, yeah, like 2 or 3 weeks out of the year, which is what most Americans do, right?
Exactly. If that, right?
Yeah,
And
right. If
I
that.
think you bring up a really good point, which is, it's not that necessarily we're meant to like just literally sit at a beach all day or whatever your vacation is, but it's that sense of being able to be yourself, not having the pressure and the worry of the world, even though, we all have to pay bills and taxes and all that stuff, but it's a choice of being in that inner state, which is our natural inner state before we started kind of absorbing other people's fears and all this like scarcity mindset. And you talk a lot about freedom and like this like scarcity mindset thing, right? So when I say we can be on vacation every day, it's actually really, really important to notice what comes up for you. Like, wait, I would feel guilty being on vacation every day. No, I can't afford to be on vacation every day. It's irresponsible to be on vacation every day, because those are the things that just are in our ego, that are just in our kind of like thought systems that keep us from, I think, being really present in our lives. And those thoughts end up like really controlling us, because we're like trying to produce and trying to not feel guilty and be like hustling and all of these things. And that is what keeps us from that state of being in enjoyment and vacation.
Oh my gosh. I mean, when you were saying all of that, like all of those feelings did come up for me, right? Like the feelings of guilt and being irresponsible and all of that. Why do you think that happens? Like why does our brain do that?
Well, Katie, can you imagine telling your parents, hey, I'm going to be feel like I'm on vacation every day, and you should feel like you're on vacation every day? Like, can you imagine that? I think I would get slapped in the face.
Well, the funniest thing is my parents never go on vacation.
Really? Like
Yeah.
ever?
I don't even remember the last time they ever took a vacation, to
Do you
be
know
honest.
why?
I mean, part of it is my mom really doesn't like staying in hotels and those kinds of things. She finds it like unclean. Like even at five-star hotel, like I took her on a vacation, a mini vacation. When I was working for The Bachelor. um I was invited to one of the bachelor's weddings, and it was at a five-star resort at the Biltmore in Santa Barbara, and
Wow,
my mom brought her own sheets and pillowcases.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, she can't even relax at a five-star, most amazing and extraordinarily beautiful luxurious hotel, right? And then
Yeah.
my dad, I'm not really sure why. Like he doesn't go on vacations. I think part of it is money. I do remember as kids, we did go on vacation once in a while, but we'd go like to Disneyland or Disney World, that kind of thing. And, we always stayed at like Motel Sixes and
Yeah, same
places
here.
like, yeah. And so I think he thinks about the money a lot, like, and that kind of overwhelms his way of being on vacation. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's so sad to me because my parents are very similar, right? And I just think about how much kind of smaller their world gets. And it's not a judgment. Some people just don't want to travel, or some people, a lot of people can't afford to travel like all the time. But it's kind of like this inner state of allowing ourselves to enjoy and to be happy. And when like this premise that I talk about is when you're on vacation, that's you being your true self, right? So let's just even have that as a premise. Then how often are we not able to be in our true self, in our true state? And I'm sure some of your people have heard, our true state is love, it's light, which I really think is true. And so like if we like are not allowing ourselves to feel that way in our true nature, then it's kind of sad, and I think a lot of people actually are in this state right now just because of the way that the world is. And, it doesn't need to be that way. And I actually think that it's actually more important now for people to be in their true state of light and love and being present than ever before, because that energy is needed now more than ever in the world.
I was going to ask you about that. So, because the state of the world is the way it is, we're in a war currently, right? I mean, well, we aren't in the States, but Israel is in a war. And when you think about that, when you think about other people suffering and being in that situation, it feels like you're being selfish, or I don't know, it doesn't feel like you should be on vacation. So why is it even more important that we are?
Yeah, and I definitely feel that, and I feel also um, kind of insensitive, and like super privileged talking about stuff like this when there's a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of people suffering. There's a lot of children dying. There's a lot of, I call it just a lot of really heavy karmic stuff moving through our world right now, and it's bringing up a lot of really intense feelings for people, and there's a reason for this. And the reason why I know in my heart this is a time of like, if you kind of think about it just in balance of like light and dark, you know, when we allow ourselves to be really immersed in the conflict, what happens is a lot of people, we indirectly perpetuate the conflict. So I've seen this where people are just, pointing fingers and basically just like spewing hate and passing hate on to future generations. Obviously, that's not what everyone's doing. And it is definitely important to condemn things that you don't believe are right and to be a part of this world. That's definitely important. But it is not helpful for you to carry that pain and suffering. The only thing that happens when you carry pain and suffering and maybe hate and maybe rage and maybe anger and maybe scarcity is you will mess yourself up, and you will also mess up your family and the people around you. And what we need actually is more for people to be able to witness, okay, there are some pretty devastating things happening, and allow those emotions to process. And then for you, eventually, like after you process those emotions, which really only take like a few minutes a day, you naturally feel lighter. And a lot of people, when they feel lighter, they're like, oh, I feel bad. It's actually kind of a scary feeling for us. So the feeling of love, the feeling of freedom, the feeling of abundance is actually really scary for a lot of people because we're not trained in this energy. We're trained in the energy of fighting and fear and like, oh, what else is happening? Oh, crap, this other thing. It's just like, that's what we're socialized to be in. But if we allow ourselves just a little bit of that presence of light, just a little bit of like maybe us, spending 5 minutes chatting about our vacation, like years ago, like, and actually enjoying that moment, it does so much to uplift ourselves, and it does so much to actually uplift the collective, which I argue is probably what we need more than like a focus on everything that's going wrong.
Yeah, I love that. I actually think that is also in so many ways like a more abundant way of being and thinking as well, versus the other way is in that scarcity thinking, right?
Yeah, that's so true. And I really believe there's a chance for peace in the Middle East and peace in Ukraine and, education for women and safety for children. Like, I really see that. I really, really believe that. Now, imagine if people actually like truly believe that. There's an energy that allows miracles to happen. There's an energy that allows negotiations to happen, but if we're just kind of in this guilty state of, oh no, the world, I feel so bad for everybody, it doesn't add like kind of a net positive effect.
Yes, I see that so clearly. Recently, and this has nothing to do with the war or anything, and this is a more lighter example. However, the Powerball was, close to $2 billion recently, right? And then one person won it again, right? Like every single time it's been like a billion or over a billion, it feels like in very recent times it's been one person who has won it. And I was just commenting on that with my husband, and I was like, wow, it's so weird that it was one person who won it, and it was another person in California. And then he said, oh, we should be happy for this person. And I was like, huh. I mean it's not that I wasn't happy for him, but also wasn't like super happy for somebody that I didn't know, because I was like, I don't know this person. And then he said, well, that's just the more abundant way of believing and thinking.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say my husband is actually, even though I'm the financial coach and financial wellness coach, but he comes from a very natural place of abundance too.
Wow. I can
Very
see
interesting.
that.
Yeah. And so I agree with you, right? Like in the sense, it's like we're shifting the collective just by being in the energy of like we're happy for people that are having successes, and then not dwelling in the negative, right? Not dwelling in the place of darkness as well. And
Yeah, because I believe when you actually make that inner shift, you're actually doing something about it. Whereas a lot of people who are just kind of throwing around a lot of finger pointing, they're not actually doing anything to benefit. And I think this is different than some people might say, oh, isn't that like spiritual bypassing or whatever? I think spiritual bypassing is like you literally ignoring everything and including ignoring what it brings up within yourself.
yes.
That's just going to save it for another day, right? But being responsible is noticing, feeling the feelings, coming to terms with your own fears, your own judgments, your own hatred, right? And then choosing, like you said, to feel abundant, choosing to be happy for people, choosing to see that there are opportunities for the world to be better. So yes, I absolutely agree. That's like the most abundant mindset, I think.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit more about this program you're building. I'm so curious about it. I'm thinking I'm gonna join you. Join the
Ooh, let's go on vacation
program.
together.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
Tell me
that would be
about
so much.
it.
That'd be so much fun.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to be honest. So this is because it's a creative project, right? It's inspired, which leaves a lot of room. And the reason why I'm doing this way is I love this, like when people, when everyone's energy combines to create something. So there is a lot of room for collaboration. And so basically what this is, Vacation on Earth, which is kind of a play on Heaven on Earth, is a book that I'm working on.
Mm.
And the book is a culmination of exercises that I've taken my clients through in the past. But I'm like, there's something really powerfully experiential about this. And I would love to have it in a group setting. And I would love to have people go through the exercises, but also maybe different exercises will be birthed from this, right? It's kind of like a collaboration, if you will. And so I am creating a 3-month, really like coaching experience where people are able to experience the new materials, as well as like the tried and true materials. And then also there's a live coaching component, which is basically, people get their unique questions answered. And I'm also there taking people through certain things to basically help us first connect with who we are as a soul. So you really get a chance to understand your soul personality and really feel it, which is amazing because I used to only be able to do those in individual private sessions. But now I'm like, wait, I can do this in a group because I've done it in groups before. So that's awesome. So we help you connect with your soul's authentic personality. And then two, you get to understand who you are on vacation and begin to recreate the state of being on vacation in your everyday life. So I sadly do not think I'm traveling anywhere. Well, I am going to visit my parents for Christmas. I mean, sorry, for Thanksgiving. But other than that, I don't really have any like big vacation plans, right? So I need this, just like maybe you need this.
Your
And
son
it's
is so young right now, right?
I know. Yeah. So it's about channeling that place of being. And I have to say, just in the moments that I've done this, I don't remember to do it every day, right? But in the moments that I have done this, I find myself with this just like baseline of joy and peace. And it's not like a haha, it's like a wow, I'm really appreciating this sunrise right now. Wow, it's really hot right now because I live in Texas. But I really appreciate that. There's something really nice about that. This trash truck just cut me off, but wow, what a beautiful trash like dumpster truck, which I mean, I actually took a photo of it because I was like, am I on drugs? Because I'm literally like, wow, someone took the time to design this trash truck and it's pretty awesome. It's just crazy things like that will happen because you're just like, oh, I'm on vacation.
It's so true. When you are on vacation, you notice those things, right? Like you're like, oh, that trash can, they painted the outside of the trash can and it looks so good, right? Like, and when you're not on vacation, like that kind of stuff goes by you.
Exactly. Wow, they have no ice in this country. Okay, nice.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is
That is
interesting. Warm
That's
beer.
actually an
Okay.
interesting point too, is that sometimes you can go on a trip, but not be in that vacation mindset and still not really take in everything that you could potentially take in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you're the grumpy person on vacation then.
Right.
Yeah. And even for like that person who's grumpy on vacation, there is a vacation that they would really enjoy. And I don't know what that is, right? And that's what we find out in the group together. It could be their vacation is working on their car. I don't know, right? It could be hanging out with cats. I don't know. But there's like aspects of that, like that state that you're being, that is a natural state that your soul loves. Whatever it is about doing the thing that you're doing, there's something about that in your system that feels natural and that feels good. And so we can just replicate that every day if you
Hmm.
wanted to.
This also reminds me of like a lot of people have been talking about burnout recently.
Okay.
A lot, especially around like business owners that I know, like people talk about, oh, I'm so burnt out. I need a vacation from, all of my busyness, but I don't have time for it. It's just like I'm on this hamster wheel and continuing to do what I'm doing. And do you think that this kind of process can help also prevent that sense of burnout, right?
Yeah, I would say the burnout comes from people not being truly their creative, like utilizing their creative abilities. Because when you're being creative, and everyone's creative, okay? I don't care if you're like, a mathematician or you're like actually an artist or you just, I don't know, like reading stuff, right? Like it doesn't matter. So creative energy is very activating. And I think because the business landscape has changed so much year after year, like just in like the coaching industry, um, I think that most people have actually pulled back their business. And I know some people who are just like, I'm just going to go on sabbatical because it feels so heavy. I don't know like what it is I'm doing anymore. People aren't buying as easily as they used to. And it's, yeah, because the actual landscape has changed. People have really changed. And the only way I think for you to really tap into what does that change mean for me is you have to be brave and you have to be creative. And being creative is something that we naturally are, just like we're naturally love and light, because we actually came into this life, to create. We are all creators. And I just did a post actually today saying that there's going to be a creator renaissance coming up. There are going to be still like a lot of world events and American events, I feel, that are going to happen that aren't great, maybe a little scary. Like that's just going to be the way that it is for a little bit, right? But what's going to happen is like when these things shake up, like these structures are really being like shooken up, like our government is being, like everything is like shaking, which is why it's very unsettling. People are burning out. But because of this, it's actually shaking our like rigid personality structures loose. It's actually giving us an opportunity to be brave and try doing things in a different way and follow our intuitive voice. It can sound very scary, but it's actually the only choice that we have. And I think when enough people realize, wait a second, when I, follow my creativity, when I just have a little bit more fun with this, me working in my business can actually feel way less heavy and way less traumatizing than it did before, because everyone was kind of working from the same template before. Like, okay, this is how you do marketing. This is how you do whatever. And yeah, of course that still works to a certain extent. But if you're finding yourself burnt out, it's probably because it's time for a change. And maybe inwardly, that it's just kind of scary.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that this is also part of self-care, really uh, taking time for yourself, because I think that so many times if you're burnt out, it's probably also because you haven't set yourself as the priority, right? You're not creating the boundaries and the wellness plan to actually regulate your body, your nervous system, and in
Ooh,
order
yes.
to, yeah, like hold all of the space that you need to hold, right, for your
Yeah.
clients or for,
That's a great point about, and I know you've been studying this for a while, is like that regulation. Oh my gosh, we're so dysregulated right now. That's such a good point. And it just, we're so stimulated and overly stimulated that I don't know how, how we're just like even functioning at this point, but we're kind of holding ourselves on by like a little thread. And I think when we really can come back to ourselves and what we really want to say, right, in this thing, or what we really want to do, or maybe ideas are coming to us, and maybe we just want to experiment with, that gives us energy. That gives us a little bit more purpose, right? Than maybe just like, I think a lot of people were going through the motions, or I'll speak for myself. I was just kind of going through the motions because I was running my business, I was getting clients, I was doing like good enough creatively. I wasn't, super blocked or anything. But if I was honest, I was just kind of going through the motions. I wasn't really uh, going within to really create the life that I wanted.
Yeah, it and then speaking on this whole vacation theme, it is like the thing that everybody talks about in terms of like when you're on a plane and they tell you to put your own mask on before you put it on your child's, right? It's like you've got to put your own mask on before you really dive into your work and your business and all of these other things too, because if you're not having the oxygen and taking that in, you're not going to handle the turbulence, you're not going to handle the air pressure drops. Right,
Yes,
all
I'm
of
gonna
these
pass out.
things. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And can I get a little woo, a little more woo than
Yeah,
I have been?
yes, yeah.
Okay. Because at the end of the day, our higher selves have already planned it out for us. Like, I feel it. I know that sometimes you feel it too. Maybe sometimes, like for your listeners, you look back at your life and you're like, oh, everything feels so divinely orchestrated. Like, you just feel like things are not random. And it's because our higher self has already like orchestrated everything to work out for us, but we typically get in our own way. And so like when you, like you said, you do the self-regulation, right? You put on your own oxygen mask, you're in this non-reactive state. You can actually start to maybe feel a little bit good about things. Then you actually align with what people are saying is your highest timeline. You align with the life that was created for you, that you actually really want, that's really fulfilling. And you're not resistant to that as much.
Mm, I love that so much. Well, you've convinced me. I am going to join your
Yay! Everyone, come hang out with me and
yes.
Katie.
Yes, exactly. Because, even though I'm getting into one of my busiest times of the year, however, I really think that being in my vacation mode self could actually be even more beneficial. And again, like what we've been talking about, create the like the calmness in my nervous system, and then also this feeling that I don't have to just keep being on that hamster wheel and doing the same things over and over again.
Hmm. Whoa, I love your decisiveness, Katie. We can go on
Yes,
vacation together again.
I know, exactly. That'd be so fun. We need to do that.
Yes.
I, I keep telling Sarah Kate we need to she needs to bring back Cicely South.
I know.
Right.
Oh my gosh. And you know, to think like I almost didn't go because I had all the excuses, right? I was busy, all the stuff, like whatever. And I almost didn't go. Can you imagine
I
if I
know.
didn't go?
Right. That would have been the last you wouldn't have had that vacation in the last couple of
I
years.
know. That would have been so sad.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else you want to say about this incredible vacation mode way of thinking that you'd
Um,
like to share?
well, for those of you who just feel like maybe you just need a break, or who are just kind of looking for this like new and different, innovative way to really connect with yourself, or and this is why a big reason why I did it. Like for those of you who just kind of feel like you have a life, you have a business, but it feels out of touch. It feels like it's not serving you as well. It feels like whose life is this? Whose business is this? I need a change, but what does that mean? Because like I can't change everything about my business. Like I have to pay my bills and feed my kids and all this stuff, right? This might be a fun experiment for you to partake in. And I really would love for you to think of it in that way, like a fun journey, a fun experiment, because we're all going to be kind of playing in this space together. And what is going to happen is if you allow yourself to be led and allow yourself to go on the journey, you're going to learn more about yourself, and you're going to find that your life is just randomly going to change. Like even if you maybe are a little resistant to it, you're going to find that you're going to more and more be your authentic selves. And I think that especially as the marketplace and all of that, like there's kind of chaos and everyone at this point kind of sounds the same because we've all been reading the same books and learning the same things. There's a really unique, authentic way for you to be. And the reason why this came about was I just wanted people to be themselves. Like I really am annoyed when people are like someone else, right? Because this was me for a long time. I was just kind of pretending to be someone else, or like, oh, I'm smart like this person or whatever. And like when I really allowed myself to be myself, my life was so much better. It was like a lot weirder, but like so much better. And so I just want like this interesting, weird goofball group of people to be themselves and then realize kind of as like a bonus, you access way more creativity and abundance and miracles this way because you're not resisting them. You're pure light, right? You're attracting exactly the clients and the audience and the opportunities that are aligned with your authentic self. And that's pretty cool. Oh, and it's only $30. Forgot to say that.
I cannot believe that that's the price online. But I think you do a great job of explaining why it's $30. So I'm gonna let people take a look at your link and go into that, for themselves. But I want to encourage everyone to, yeah, join us on vacation because I think this is gonna be so fun.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I know.
Yay.
I can't wait to explore because you've already taken me on a journey today from when I first was like, I don't know if I should do that. I feel guilty and irresponsible for doing something like that. To now I'm like excited and curious to explore what that looks like.
Ooh, that is a perfect, state to be in before you go on an adventure, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.